Brandon Lawson has been missing from San Angelo, Texas since August 9th, 2013. The circumstances under which he went missing are sure to haunt you. At the time of his disappearance, Brandon had 4 children with his longtime girlfriend, Ladessa Lofton. Brandon would work 60-hour weeks to provide for his family in the oil fields. Unfortunately, the stress of these long work weeks would lead Brandon to have some struggles with drugs. At the time of his disappearance, it had been known that Brandon was clean from using drugs. However, the night he disappeared, he had an argument with Ladessa, and she says it was about drugs. They had this argument, and Brandon proceeded to leave their home and was going to drive 3.5 hours away to his parents' house in another part of Texas. About 30 miles from his home, however, Brandon had ran out of gas, so he called his brother Kyle to come help him and bring him some gas. Kyle said that Brandon was acting weird on the phone and even asked if he had been using drugs, and Brandon told Kyle that he hadn't been using drugs and he just needed help, and he also insinuated that people were driving him out of town or he was being chased, something of this nature. His behavior was definitely off to his brother, who was concerned. Shortly after making calls to his brother, Brandon makes a call to 911 to alert them that he is out of gas and on the side of the highway. During this 911 call, he tells the operator that there is somebody else with him and there, quote, will be no talking to them. He seems afraid of this person, and we really don't know if there actually was somebody with him or what was going on. He has a few more phone calls with Kyle and confirms the location to where he needs to be picked up. Kyle arrived to the location at the same time that the police did, and at this point, Kyle and Brandon were on the phone. Kyle and the police officer pull up, and Brandon says that he can see them, and he also tells Kyle to hide from the police officer. He does this because he has warrants, and he knows he will likely get into trouble if the police officer looks at his identification and sees that he has warrants. Kyle refuses to do this, and he searches the area with the police officer, and they don't see Brandon, despite Brandon just telling Kyle that he could see him. So this gives you an idea of the terrain where Brandon went missing from. After Kyle searched with police, he went down the road and waited a little bit and returned to look for Brandon again, as he assumed that he was hiding from the police. He was not able to reach Brandon on the phone at this point, and he just continued to look for him in person. But despite Brandon being able to see him supposedly around half an hour ago, Brandon was nowhere in sight. The case would go cold until early this year, when some discoveries were made. Find Not Adding Up wherever you get your podcast to learn more.